They say monsters don't exist. But what if I told you?
Share.
But what if I told you they walk among us in plain sight? Imagine the chill creeping down your spine when you're alone. The unsettling sensation of eyes boring into you from the shadows. Yet, when you turn, nobody is there. Picture yourself in a crowded grocery store, heart racing, as an inexplicable dread clings to you like a dark cloud. Monsters are real. This is American Whiskey, and every Friday we get together for Sip and Solve, where we dive into the bone-chilling tales that remind us of darkness lurks just beneath the surface. I just love it.
I said I'll do a Wednesday.
Hit us with the other intro too, real quick. What's up, you Sip and Salt Friday lovers? I'm Big Sturge, and alongside of me, as always, is my lucky co-host. I feel like I should. The other host, Justice League.
How's it going, guys?
And the other host, Michaela.
Hi.
And we are totally here in studio, and we also have a studio in Oregon. So
Yep. Yeah, it's all just one big interstate studio.
Levi's also here on there. There he is, right there. Lovely guy that can't keep his hands off his face for some reason. I don't know why you hate. Why you hate
Pensive. He's thinking. He's thinking.
It's so weird. But grab a beer, grab a drink, grab whatever it is you like to sip on. Dip it back, relax. It's Friday night, guys. I don't care if you work tomorrow. Just relax. Let's have a good time. Let's talk a little bit about crimes that haven't been solved. Okay, let's do it. All right, guys. So the first things first. We don't ever forget this. Let's tag Burned Out Winery, Chris Salmons, Fred Salmons, Amy Salmons. Let's see if we can tag them all because they're all family to us. Well, Fred's here. But Burned Out Wineries, you can see here our special edition American whiskey bottles, which we do have one for Michaela sitting inside of a box over another yonder there. So, guys, it's literally, if you're not a wine person, you will be. And if you're scared to test your limits, don't be. You're in a safe place. Try their wine. Let's try their commercial. If you're looking for a unique wine experience, check out Burned Out Winery. Founded by a team of siblings who turned their passion for winemaking into a thriving business. They focus on crafting exceptional small batch wines from Moscato to tart cherry and spiced apple to their delightful sangrias. There's something for everyone. Each bottle tells a story, complete with a creative name that reflects their journey. Their wines are not only fantastic, but they're also affordable, making them a great choice for any occasion. You can easily order online at burnedoutwinery.com or connect with them on Facebook. They deliver. Whether you're local or out of state, they'll ship right to your front door. Support this hardworking team and savor the taste of Burned Out Winery. This is Big Sturge with American Whiskey. All right, so I know you guys are uncomfortable because we do not have our trusty Peanut here, but he is listening, I think. Yeah, that's all comment. And Dougie's bowling right now, and we're not going to hit on him for it. I know, but whatever. So
Actually, I just went bowling last week. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm shit at this, but it's so fun.
My wife's birthday party was surrounded with bowling. So such a great time. But guys, as always, welcome to American Whiskey. And today is like my favorite day of the week. It's Sip and Solve segment. And we're actually diving into one of the most captivating and I would say mysterious cases in American history. And it's not only the disappearance of D.B. Cooper, but it's everything surrounding it, right? It's how did he get there to that point? Who is he? We're going to talk about it today. So I want to set the scene. And before we do that, we like to go around the horn and talk about what we're sipping on. Let's go, Michaela. What are you sipping on?
I am sipping on some Pelican Brewing Beak Breaker Hazy Imperial IPA and a little bit of rum from my work.
Jealous.
Oh,
it's pretty good.
Justice League.
I'm drinking a good old natural light, and I'm probably going to pour a little bit of this Buffalo Trace.
Yes.
Which they got some good news today. They will be opening back up limited, I think, Monday.
Yeah, the pictures of their place flooding were fucking crazy.
So from what I read that they put out, they are going to take anybody that had the tour scheduled and do a limited sale to them.
That's awesome.
In one of their warehouses that wasn't very impacted.
I'm about to try to schedule a tour.
It doesn't work that way.
I'm going to try. So. Still going to try. So I'm actually sipping on a Yangling Flight. It's a flight. It's not the light. It's not the Yangling. It's the Yangling Flight. It's low carbs. And I wanted something different, something tasty. Shout out. Can we at Yangling on here? I don't know if it's possible, but we give it a shot. We can always
try.
It's really, really good. I'm honestly, I didn't think you could get something so light but so tasty at the same time. It's kind of hard to do that with a beer. It's either you're drinking water or you're not. This has that really good beer flavor. And I've also been taking a few sips of the Heaven Hill. This is really good. It's the Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond. It used to be kind of hard to get. I think it's on the shelves right now. Am I wrong? Still kind of hard to get.
It's not as hard to get, but it's still one per person.
Okay,
it's still considered allocated in Ohio.
It's really good. We actually have a good a good amount of bottles here, so I drink the shit out of it. So again, I want to set the scene for us, and I'm going to let Michaela and Justice League kind of talk about this. But I think it's important to set the scene. And November 24th, 1971, it was a very, very rainy Wednesday evening in Portland, Oregon. Shout out to Michaela. I thought this was interesting because she is from Oregon.
I know. I was like, we're talking about something in my neck of the woods this week.
And it's super exciting because I feel like not a lot happens in Oregon, except getting beat by
trees growing and yeah. Well, I just want to say I was super excited when I floated the idea for doing an episode on DB because I love the story and the lore, and I've done a bunch of hiking and camping in some pretty woodsy-ish areas, and so this story has always kind of intrigued me. And my best friend and I, we just love outdoors, and I think it would be so fun to just have a hike and just try and find it. Fruitless, but the excitement, it's like going ghost hunting. You don't know what you're gonna find, but you're gonna have a great time anyway. So when you said that this was one of your favorite unsolved mysteries, I was like, fuck yes, we're doing it.
But not only that, Michaela, Dylan and I had just talked about it that night. That's what's crazy.
That's what's crazy. Yeah.
So when you gave us 3 ideas, we were like, we have to do DB Cooper because we literally talked about it just hours before that. Yeah. But so again, it's a Wednesday, 1971, November. It's an evening in Portland, Oregon. A man later, as I learned something today, but it's what you know as DB Cooper, boarded a Northwest Orient Airlines flight 305, which was scheduled to fly to Seattle. He was, the guy was the man that boarded it was described as a middle-aged man, approximately 5'10", with a slim build. He was dressed in a black raincoat, suit, and a tie. And I think a lot of people that night probably, I mean, we're talking the 70s, a lot of people dressed up. They were traveling for business. A raincoat, it was raining. Raincoats were huge then. Nothing I would say that would stick out. And before the flight took off, Cooper orders a bourbon and a soda. And he's, appearing calm. He's, appearing that he's relaxed. But as the plane ascended, he hands the flight attendant a note. Initially, she thought it was just kind of like a flirt. He was kind of hitting on her. And
here's my number.
Yeah, like, hey, girl. And
call me maybe.
Yeah, right. But upon opening it, she discovers it was a bomb threat. He reveals, a briefcase that he claims contains explosives. And if you're in the air and you hear explosives, you're probably freaking out. So, Michaela, Dylan, go ahead and hit what you want. I'm kind of setting the scene there for us.
So he made his way to the back of the plane. There were 36 other passengers on board, so not the biggest flight. It was on a Boeing 727, and that'll be relevant a little bit later. So he hands the stewardess the note, and she very begrudgingly sits next to him, and he opens his briefcase, revealing 8 sticks of dynamite. So not only did he was like, hey, I've got a bomb, he showed her, I literally have explosives. So his ransom demands were for $200,000, which at as of 2024 would be about $1.6 million.
Yep.
And he requested 4 parachutes. The 4 parachutes were because in hijacking things, if they only request parachutes, like a primary and a backup parachute, they'll oftentimes sabotage the parachute. So he requested 4, indicating that he intended to take a hostage. And so when they were negotiating and trying to get a hold of all of these items that he demanded when they landed in Seattle for the refuel, the FBI were going back and forth on if they wanted to try and sabotage one, but they didn't think it was worth the risk of endangering the potential hostage, which is honestly kind of crazy considering that the flight school that provided the parachutes realized that they had accidentally given him one of like a dummy training parachute. So like one of them was a dud. And that's one of the ones that he took.
And so what we have here, the demands were straightforward, right? He wanted $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel stop in Seattle. And the airline, I think they're recognizing the seriousness of the situation, complied with these demands.
Yep.
The plane ends up landing in Seattle, where Cooper's instructions, were followed, to a T, right?
Oh, 100%, because he showed that he actually meant what he was doing. And this was uncommon back then.
Yeah, no, a lot of like government agencies have the like, don't, don't interact with terrorists, like don't bow to their demands. But at the time, like until the refuel happened, all 36 passengers were still on board. So it was all about trying to mitigate the like casualties and the collateral damage. So they were trying to do their best. They end up flying, and he told them that he wanted to fly to Mexico City, but they were trying to figure out like they would not be able to do that nonstop. So they were negotiating on where their next refuel stop would be, and they listed off a number of different cities like Yuma and a couple other ones in California, but they eventually decided to stop for fuel in Reno, Nevada.
And what's interesting, so when they stop, as the passenger, as the passengers disembark the plane, Cooper kind of remains calm. I think that's something that you hear about the story. Was he was never confused. He was never worried. He never seemed overwhelmed, but he was super calm about the whole situation. And he instructs the crew to prepare for the next leg of that flight. And of course,
to Mexico,
right, in Mexico City. And I at this point, I assume the FBI is alerted, right? And they surrounded the plane on the the tarmac, sorry, but kept us
in Reno.
Yes,
when they landed. Yeah.
You want to explain that a little bit?
Oh, I mean, you were right on. But so they took off from Seattle. He let all of the passengers disembark, and I think they only had like the 2 pilots and maybe 2 other stewardesses.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Mama says the crazy zoomies. But 2, the pilot, co-pilot, and 2 other hostages, because he needed, with his 4 parachute demand, he needed some sort of plausible deniability. Otherwise, they would have just like jacked his chutes.
Right.
Yep.
So they, throughout the flight, they encountered what the flight crew described as like an oscillation or like vibrations in the plane. And they didn't really know what it was at the time. So then they land in Reno with the aft staircase deployed, which is a very specific feature of the Boeing 727. They were used primarily during the Vietnam War by the CIA in order to deploy agents and supplies, because you could deploy that staircase and then have people leap off of it. So that's like the crucial thing about this specific type of plane. So when they landed in Reno, they were planning on, because it was there were a lot less people on there, they were going to try and just overtake him as safely as possible. But when they stormed the airplane, they realized that he was gone. So at some point between Seattle and Reno, he had jumped off the plane. And it's believed to be when that like vibration or like, it wasn't turbulence, it was the plane deploying the staircase. That's when they presumed that he leapt off the plane.
It's interesting because you look at the how methodical he was. I mean, even after the passengers were released, Cooper boarded the plane again, along with these, the pilots and the remaining crew, with the ransom money in hand. The flight path directed towards Mexico City. So you kind of wonder if he had this all planned, right? And Cooper instructed the pilots on how to fly the plane. He was super, he specifically requested they fly at a low altitude, at a low speed,
with the landing gear deployed too. Sorry if I cut you off.
No, you're not cutting me off at all. That's exactly right.
Yes, Vaughn, this is DB Cooper story.
DB Cooper.
Yeah, and you wonder, why is you have the landing gear out, low altitude, the slow speed. I think that's creating what he knows is going to be happening, right? That parachuting out of the airplane.
So to add a little more to what you guys have already hit, I believe the reason why he wanted all those things is because the parachutes they provided him weren't the ones that you can glide and decide where you go. It was literally like one of those military type ones where you drop wherever the wind takes you.
Yeah, so there were two different styles of parachutes. So the 2 different primary ones were like a civilian kind of luxury parachute. So a little bit wider, you catch a lot more air, so your descent is slower. So you have a lot more time to be able to steer yourself where you want to go. And he opted to take the older parachute, which in a vacuum could seem like it was a mistake, but it is a military issued or like a military style of parachute, where when you drop, you want to go as fast as possible so you don't get shot out of the air. And you have to trust that you are dropped within super zoomies, within a like relative zone of where you wanted to end up. So like you do have less maneuverability, but it's because you're dropping at such a high rate of speed that like you don't have a lot of time to course correct.
I mean, people have broken their knees and their
Mhm.
legs. I mean, it's actually that kind of makes me wonder. I'm like, if you go parachuting, right, or you go to jump out of an airplane, you're hooked to
Mhm.
somebody, right, because you're not trained.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it makes you wonder. But let's take that moment to explore what kind of happens next, which we've already kind of talked about it. I'm just going over my notes, but
Yeah.
somewhere over the rugged wilderness, of the Washington state, right,
Mhm.
it's approximately 30 minutes into the flight, we think, right, where they feel
Yeah.
that the oddness of the airplane. Cooper opens up that rear staircase and he jumps into the night. Let's remember that it's night.
Oh yeah.
It
He
is
can't.
And he's
nighttime in the
yeah,
wilderness. Like,
in
He can't
November,
stand
which
it.
like our late fall, early winter weather is not not very nice. And
yeah,
he was dressed in like loafers and a trench coat. It's like
black,
that is
black
not
suit, a
like
tie.
it's not mhm. Well, the tie was left behind.
Was it?
Yes, he
Yeah,
Okay,
left the
because
tie
that's part
and
of
he had
the
leave it
DNA.
to you guys.
He left. So I could be wrong here, but I believe what I read is it was literally a J.C. Penney tie,
mhm.
and he left it back, which they got some DNA off of.
Which they were never able to.
They can't because they never found him.
Yeah, I just.
Well, so here's the crazy thing. Because it was the 70s and you could still smoke on planes, there were 8 cigarettes that were left behind in the ashtray, but that evidence, those cigarettes, has actually gone missing and has never been found.
Isn't that crazy?
So
So
that's kind of like I touched on the CIA aspect of it, like specifically the Boeing 727 and him preferring to take the military issue parachute over one that would have been a little bit easier to navigate with. And I think him taking the dummy chute means that he knew it was, and that's what he used to wrap the cash up and
Yeah.
then use the parachute lines to secure it to himself so he didn't have to hold on to the bag.
I mean,
So I think
let's think about it. We have a guy in a black suit, not a tie, right? I guess that was taken off, and the parachute, and a
mhm,
stash of 200,000 in cash. That is
in
not light.
20s. It's
In
and it
20s,
was all in 20s.
that's not
Yeah.
light. That's
It's not a small amount.
No, not at all.
and it's intriguing because I'm sorry, but you have to know what you're doing if you're confident enough to jump out in the night with that
Mhm.
much weight
In late November.
in late November.
Into the woods, because that's one of the things that made trying to track him so difficult was the terrible weather, and he jumped over such a heavily forested area. It's one of the things I love about Oregon and Washington is we have so many trees. It's so beautiful out here. But if you're going to try and land at night with a chute that you can only maneuver so much, like you have to have either a supreme, like a big level of understanding or a big misunderstanding of what the fuck you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
Like,
So I
I
can't
don't know.
I can't put it up on the screen, but I'm going to show Sturge this. So like he said, there was turbulence, or not turbulence. There was shake and everything. And that's when they think he jumped out. If you look at the flight path,
Mhm.
it's pretty evident, in my opinion, when he jumped out because they're going on a pretty straight path, and then all of a sudden they veer off and do a circle
Mhm.
back to the straight path. So it's like he opened the door. The pilot's like, "Oh shit!"
Woo. Adjusting for that.
He jumps. They close it, and then they go back to the same path.
So
Well, in the
yeah.
real quick, the path that they were taking, normally in like plane hijackings, the hijacker has a very specific flight plan that they'd like them to follow. But the flight crew reported that it was taking so long to get like the ransom money, the supplies, and refuel that he was getting more and more frustrated. And so when they asked, like, what flight plan do you want? Like, where do you want us to go? He was like, I want you to get me to Reno and just fucking get the show on the road. So the pilot chose to take that one path, which I think is like Victor something. There's like a specific name for that flight path. And so he just was like, all right, I'll go on this path because it's known in like aviation as one of the paths, like a noted one. It's like a highway. It's a plain highway. So
Okay.
it's a known path that's taken from point A to B. So he was like, well, if you don't care where we're going, then we'll take this because
Is it
I
called,
know this.
is it the Nordic Stream or whatever they call that?
Something like that.
Like
I'm
the
looking to
wind patterns
see.
where they coast better.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're 25 in. I saw Vaughn's in here. I've got a good way of. I want to bring something else up, but let's play Vaughn's.
Let's do it.
Let's play Vaughn's commercial since he's in here. Schoolhouse Farms.
Yeah.
Hey, sunflower seeds, oils, bird feed. If you make, moonshine, whatever it is, if you have a big distillery, this is your guy. Let's play it. Discover the taste of freshness at Schoolhouse Farms. Join Vaughn Davis and Beth Cole, passionate bird watchers and friends from York County, Maine, as they transform their love for nature into a thriving business. Since 2016, they have been dedicated to growing and distributing premium sunflower kernels, oils, gourmet popcorn, and heirloom grain products like corn, flour, and grits. What do they offer? Birdseed suppliers, high quality black oil sunflower seeds for local markets. Food retailers, a selection of sunflower oils, roasted kernels, gourmet popcorn, and heirloom cornmeal. Online shoppers enjoy gourmet popcorn and confection sunflower kernels from the comfort of your home. Floral markets, stunning sunflowers for Ohio-based florists. Distillers, specialty grains for brewing and distillation. Popcorn vendors, are you a kettle corn vendor? Talk to Vaughn or Beth about supplying your business with the lowest cost, high quality mushroom popcorn in the industry. Taste the difference. Customers can shop for delicious sunflower kernels, popcorn, flavored oils, and heirloom cornmeal and grits directly on their website or at selected retail stores and farmers markets across Ohio, Indiana, Maine, and New Hampshire. Their name pays tribute to the historic Freysinger School, built in 1862 on Davis Farms property. This one-room schoolhouse has a rich history, having served the community until 1939. Are you ready to connect? If there's an exciting opportunity to discuss, they would love to hear from you. Follow Schoolhouse Farms on Facebook today and become part of the community. This is Big Sturge with American Whiskey. All right, guys. So Vaughn Davis, the best. So, all right. So as you know, we're talking about it. Let's summarize here. The plane lands safely, as Michaela says, in Reno, Nevada. The FBI then launches a massive investigation. They immediately begin interviewing the crew and the passengers, but no one actually saw Cooper jump. I mean, which is pretty crazy. The search efforts were initiated, focusing on that area where he likely landed, but they turned up, no trace of Cooper or the ransom money. So over the next few weeks, the FBI, receives thousands of leads. You know how it goes, but most of them were super not helpful. And they even consulted a skydiving experts to determine the likelihood of the path of Cooper surviving the jump and navigating those terrains. And here's something that I found interesting, and I'm so excited to hit on it because I know you guys did your homework. So the first major breakthrough in a twist in this investigation, came when the FBI found a decaying package containing $5,800 of ransom money in 1980, buried along the Columbia. It was Columbia River.
The Columbia River.
And it was Tina's Bar, I think, is the name of the beach, or Tina Bar is the name of the beach where it was found.
And not only was it found, the serial numbers on the bills matched those from Cooper's ransom, confirming positively that he had indeed made it out with at least part of the money. This discovery, I think, kind of brings the interest back into the case and prompting the FBI to kind of re-examine their leads.
Mm-hmm.
And they even conducted extensive interviews with like skydivers and former military personnel, trying to find someone with the right skills and motives. So I want you guys to talk about it.
Can I talk about it and kind of hit a conspiracy on what happened?
I
kind of want to hit on what Cosboss said, because I read and thought the same exact thing. So when they saw, or the stewardess that saw the red sticks, she just assumed that it was wires and it was red sticks, so she assumed it was dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Cospa brought up exactly what I wanted to. What is believed it was is because he only showed a little bit of it. They were flares. So when he jumped with them, you look where that $5,800 was found. I believe he buried that on purpose, just as like, oh, hey, if you guys find this, you're going to take time on this. But he landed right next to the Columbia River. You pop a flare, someone picks you up. You're on a river. How are they going to fucking find you?
Yeah.
Well, so one of the crazy things is like their perceived drop zone. The disturbance where you jumped was about 8:00 p.m., I think, and they felt that. And the last communication was using the intercom, because he made all of the stewardesses like go up front, so he was by the rear staircase. And one of the last things she saw, the stewardess, I think her name was also Tina, coincidence for sure, but she begged him to take the bomb with him. She was like, please just take it with you, please, like, don't leave it here, just take it with you. But where the money was found was so far away from their perceived drop zone, like where they thought he could reasonably land. They had to like either open it up to where he landed there, or he made it, went there and buried the money. So one of the things that the FBI investigated is the bundles still had the rubber bands around them. And they did multiple tests to see how long those rubber bands could withstand being out in the elements. And the maximum that they could find was a year. And keep in mind, this money was found over a decade later. So that money would have had to be buried there within a year of him like making off with it. So either he buried it at that beach, or someone found him and his remains, took the money and buried some at the beach.
I think that's the least likely.
I do
too. I think he made it, and I think he buried some there.
I'm going to call a roll call here. I say, Dr. Cospa, we don't ever do this, but we are opening it up to where you can come on here right now and talk about this. So I think it'd be really cool to get you on here. I think you're putting up great comments here. And Chris, we're going to get to the ex-military thing. But if you would like to get on here and talk about it, I think that'd be cool.
Oh, correct. If you want to jump on, more than happy.
Can we share the link just in the comments?
No, that would be too many people.
It's okay. We can dictate who comes on.
So one thing. Oh yeah.
What?
Tina bar. That was the bar of, or the sandbar that it was found on.
Okay.
But one thing that we didn't hit on was when he signed onto the flight, his boarding pass was Dan Cooper.
Yes.
The media picked up DB Cooper because they were just trying to get a name out there and get a story out real quick, and they messed up.
Well, one of the first suspects was a man who's like first and last name initials.
Don't go there yet, Michaela.
Oh, okay.
Don't go there yet. We're going to talk about. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this before we get into it. The suspects, because that is the next part, Michaela.
Gosh, yeah. But that's why the DB.
I know. I wanted to see if before we got into suspects, he said, "Okay." Does that?
Are you getting on, Cospa?
I want to hear what he has to say. I want to hear what he has to say. But damn it, Michaela's always on my mind too. She has literally everything that she goes and says you guys are saying. It's literally what I have next on this. You guys are perfect.
So to just fill in some time
Just
here,
fucking perfect.
Michaela, one thing we haven't hit on yet. Why did he sign Dan Cooper?
Well, I guess I don't know why. I presume it was a pseudonym because he had to sign his own airline ticket, so that shows you like how the technology has changed for like boarding flights and doing identity. Like he could just write whatever name, and they're like, "Yep."
So it wasn't found till years after. There was a Canadian comic. There was a comic in Canada called Dan Cooper.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was let me get it right here. He was a military flying ace and astronaut.
And what is super crazy about it is it was a French comic and it was never translated into English. So one of the theories about who he was, like his nationality, like maybe he was Canadian and like was bilingual French and English because he had an intimate knowledge of the Pacific Northwest. Because as they were flying and leaving from Seattle, he made a comment about how far away McCord military base was. And he was like, yeah, it's about 20 minutes from here. And he was correct. So he had that kind of in-depth knowledge of the area, and I think that is also something that kind of points to him having some sort of military background. It's like even if you know where something is, like I know where the exit is for McCord. Like I've driven past it on I-5, but I couldn't pinpoint when I'm in the air how far away I would be if I'm flying from
So
Seattle.
I talked to a scholar, and it was interesting. So most people, right? You would think military, but there are people that have the mind of wanting to know everything, and they want to educate themselves. Yeah, it is possible, and we're going to get into some of these key suspects. But I do think it's important to say, he says, what link?
Tell him to check the messages. Because, like, if a friend messages you, it comes to your regular inbox. But there's also, like, a subfolder where, like, people you aren't friends with or if businesses do. So there's, like, other messages.
So the odds are good that he's military trained, right? But it's also very, very possible that he's a smart person. He is a narcissist because raise your hand if you know a narcissist.
Yeah, everyone
Many
does.
of us do, right? So
My mom.
You can feel what it would, just imagine. Listen, everyone that was on there said that if he wasn't hijacking the plane, he was comfortable to be around. He was trusting. He was calm. He's a narcissist. He's somebody that you can trust. So I don't think it points out that he's military, but I think that's very possible. But I think it's also possible that he's very smart and that he's a narcissist. So it's highly possible that he had no fucking clue where he was. He just kind of had the idea, and he made himself to seem a certain way.
Right.
I mean, airplanes then aren't as tech like they are now.
Yeah, you could smoke on them.
Yeah, I mean, hell, I wish they were still a thing. But so that was my thing. When I go to into thinking these suspects, my brain didn't go military. My brain just went straight to him being a narcissist, and he just was very educated.
Well, it's hard to say because there are depictions in the comics where it matches what happened, and like there's parts of the comics where he's jumping out of the plane with a parachute as well as a ransom being delivered in a knapsack. Like, he took that straight out of the comic. That could be anyone, including someone from the military.
Well, I think one of the kind of like interesting tidbits of like he left his tie behind, which like of course no one wants to try and skydive with a tie just whipping you in the face, but he managed to recover the note that he gave the flight attendant, so that was never found. So he knew how to like pull
Cover
as
his
much
tracks.
evidence as he could. Yeah, cover his tracks. Thank you. I was like, what the fuck is the phrase? But he knew how to cover his tracks enough to get the note back so there could be no handwriting analysis, which is a subjective science anyway, but it can happen.
But to put
It is
even to think that you say he's picking up all these the trail, right? He's picking up
right.
all. What about the
But
cigarettes
he
he was smoking?
Well, but that disappeared. That's the
Oh,
thing. Like, that's why I think
true.
military, and also I could see CIA, because, like, oh my God, this evidence just magically disappeared and no one has any fucking idea where it went. That's crazy. You know who has the power to do that? The fucking CIA.
Super true.
You're not wrong.
I mean, I think there's a suspect here that fits this to a T, except the fact that he's not military, he's not government, he's not any of these things. And I wanted to give Kaspa a chance to get in here. If not, it's all good.
Well, Sturge, have you ever met someone that says I'm in the CIA?
Yeah.
Yeah, on a date.
Have any of you? Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Yeah, I'm totally in the
I don't think
CIA.
anyone ever.
I can tell you two people. My ex-girlfriend's stepdad, he would actually talk on the phone like he was in the CIA. And then you go look at his phone, he wasn't talking to anybody. Like people are liars. People make things up. I know it's hard to believe, right? But
What?
yeah. So let's move on to suspects, because Kaspa, if you want to get on here, you still can. We can let you in at any point. But I do let's get to the point that Michaela wanted to get on. The key suspects. I don't know who wants to go first. I can go first. You guys can go first.
You can go first.
All right, perfect. I'm
I
so
gotta
glad.
pull my note. Yeah, I was like, I gotta pull some notes up. So
Who I think it is a man, and I think it's the most intriguing suspect. It's Kenneth Christensen, and he was actually a former airline employee who had several coincidences to linking him to this case. And after his death, investigators found a stash that some believed could have been, some of that ransom money. Christian's background and timing led to a ton of speculation and no concrete evidence connecting him directly to the crime. But I think that's what DB Cooper did.
So
he made it so hard to
Hey,
connect
Serge.
anyone.
real quick, Kaspa, you have to go through your browser settings and allow the cam and mic.
Yes, you have to allow. Yep, that is true. So that Kenneth Christensen was somebody that I found. He was an employee. He knew routes. He knew, and if you look at people that talked about him, he seemed a bit of a narcissist. So, whoever's next, go ahead.
Michaela?
So one of the ones that really stuck out to me too, was Ted Braden. So he was a special forces commando during the Vietnam War, which is where the Boeing 727 was really utilized. He was a master skydiver and also a convicted felon. He was a team leader within the Military Assistance Command, Studies and Observations Group, which was a classified commando unit of Green Berets. So if anyone is going to have the chutzpah to jump out of a plane without a jumpsuit, in just like a suit, a black trench coat, and loafers, like, it's someone who's going to have done that often. Um, da, 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 da. He had a lot of issues while he was serving in the military. Even though he was an excellent soldier, he was not well liked personally, and was described by a family member as the perfect combination of high intelligence and criminality, which I think kind of ties into the like narcissistic tendencies, because sometimes that level of confidence is like from your own just like projection of your reality and not actual reality. But when someone who has that inclination also manages to develop the skills, it's fucking scary.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm. So the one thing that I'll say, like, is on the other hand, he was only 5'8", which is shorter than the height description of 5'10" that was given by 2 of the flight attendants. But the military measurement would have been taken when he's in socks. And he was wearing like loafers, which traditionally have like a fairly thick heel.
Mhm.
So he could have been perceived to have been like, I mean, I wouldn't think 2 inches, but like the difference between 5'8" and 5'9" and perceived 5'10". Like, I've had guys be like, I'm totally 6 foot. And I was like, I'm 5'6" and you're only an inch taller than me. You can go
Yeah.
fuck yourself.
Yeah.
He
Literally.
did possess like a darker complexion from years of like outdoor military service. And one of the hallmarks was like he was a tan person with dark eyes, which he had, and they estimated Dan Cooper to be in his like mid 40s, and at the time of the incident, he was 43 years old. So all of those features kind of line up. So he's my kind of like, I think it was him.
Go to. Do you have one?
Mine is left field.
Let's
I'm going
go.
all the way to left field. Do you know who Robert Richard Lepsey is?
Was he a paratrooper?
Nope. He was an intelligent.
I didn't mute him.
He was known.
All right, so Kasba, your mic was echoing really, really bad. I don't know if you had headphones.
You might be listening on a second thing.
Or if you're listening on a second device, it might be picking it up. Okay, he said, hold. I think go ahead and.
Is that better?
Yes. Perfect, man.
All right.
So first off,
hi. Thanks for coming on.
The whiskey.
Yes.
Yes, and I love the cat. How you doing?
So it's cool to get you on here. I know you've been watching here for a little bit, and it's really cool to have gained somebody that's been listening from somewhere else and welcome on. But man, we're excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Okay, well let me tell you my background first. I have a lot of education and my IQ is extremely high. I don't brag about things, but I go outside the box and I do things around what other people wouldn't do. I do things backwards. And I have a lot of law enforcement training. I have psychology training, medical training, you name it, I have it. I do not lie. My book is thick. It's like this thick of awards and merits and certificates. So whatever I say is a man's word. I do not lie. Okay?
Let's get, yeah, let's do it.
I can hear you guys still? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure. What do you want to know? I really think I know who D.B. Cooper is.
So that's where we're at right now. We're
There's one hint of
yeah, go ahead.
All right. I think that D.B. Cooper is also the same person that did the Gardner Art Museum heist in 1990. He was 41 when he jumped out of that plane, and he was 60 when he did the Gardner Art heist. And the reason I say that is because the day after he jumped, Walter Cronkite's first announcement, if you listen to it clearly, he goes, last night was just an ordinary night until whatever, blah, 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 blah. He talks about the crime, and he says, as one wire source says, master criminal. He already bragged to Walter Cronkite through a source. Maybe he just called up the station and said, hey, this guy was good. He's a master criminal. You should describe him. How is he a master criminal if they don't know he's alive? He's narcissistic. He brags. He is, I'm telling you 100%, he is also Zodiac. He's a lot of criminals. He likes to role play different criminals. He's a Zodiac. He's the Texarkana Phantom. He's John Bonet, Ramsey's killer. This is not a conspiracy.
So let me ask you this. So there's a lot of thought into I know I did see, and I'm not picking here, but there is a comment that you put that it was a basic jump. Can Can we pull the comment back up?
Yeah.
You said it was a bit, you know, he could have this.
10,000 feet is a mile and a half up. It doesn't take that long to jump. I could jump. I've only jumped once parachuting.
But hear me for 1 second here. So you said it was 10K feet, 1.5 miles up, long johns, a wetsuit, extra boots in his side bag, easy jump with $200,000, right? So my point is, you have a Marine here, right, Dylan?
Yep.
Okay.
Could you make that jump?
Never jumped out of a plane in my life, but I'd give it a go.
My nephew's a paratrooper for the Marines, or was.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think for just anybody, it's a tough jump, right? Just like your normal everyday person, it's a tough jump.
Well, if you go on a test flight and you want to go, skydiving, and they take you up in the plane, they only take you up about 5,000 feet.
Yeah,
10,000 feet would be nothing for any parachutist.
Who did you say that you think was the one that did it?
Bill McReynolds.
Bill McReynolds.
He's a letter writer. All of his crimes. He's the Circleville letter writer. He's the Tylenol tamperer. He's the Scorpion. I'm telling you, it's all in the writing. All by dates, habits. You can catch a criminal. D.B. Cooper is 100% did that crime because his firstborn son was born in March of 71, and he was celebrating with family in Eugene, Oregon, where his wife is from. And they were taking the kids to the grandparents, and he loaded up in Portland and jumped out in Portland. They don't know it because they think he's headed to Mexico. I would jump quick too. Throw the money out, jump out, land. Who cares if I get hurt? That money's out there. They think he's going to Mexico. They're not going to jump until he thinks they're going to jump like in California or something. They aren't smart enough at that time. He's got a bomb. They're not going to follow that plane. The FBI will follow it at a distance.
I think at one point, though, when they landed at one of the airports, I think they did. I think, Michaela, you hit on this. They did have the airplane surrounded at one point, but they were being kind of cautious at the time.
Right,
Correct.
But he was long gone. He jumped 30 minutes. It's 30 minutes to Portland to Washington. Then it's another 30 minutes back.
It depends on what part of Washington.
He jumped out by Eugene, Oregon, somewhere around level with where Eugene is in the state of Oregon, maybe in the middle.
Eugene is 3 hours south of Portland. So I grew up in Corval, I guess maybe 2 hours, because I grew up an hour and a half south from here, and Eugene is 30 minutes away from that.
But I think his wife is from Eugene, Oregon. That's where they met. That's where they got married. Bill McReynolds and his wife. The same Santa Claus that killed John Benet Ramsey. I'm 100% sure. I know it sounds weird, but there's no such thing as coincidence. Nobody can put these crimes together. You understand? D.B. Cooper. Nobody would think D.B. Cooper would have done the Boston Art Museum until they find out he has properties in Eugene, Oregon, Colorado, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, 2 in Oregon, 3 in Colorado, 1 in Texas. All you have to do is a background check. Then you find out this man has like 8 houses. How can he not be? Everybody thinks.
Where'd he go?
Uh-oh. We lost him. Well, definitely things to consider. Should we get back into other suspects?
Yeah, okay, so yes.
Yeah, I was like, whoop.
So I don't know what happened. Okay. So
you want me to continue on mine?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I think it was a guy named Robert Richard Lepsey.
Is that the parachuter?
No.
Okay.
He was just a normal guy.
Cosmo, you're good. You don't be sorry, dude. You're good, bro.
Yeah.
He was just a normal guy. He was born in Chicago. He moved with his wife to where was it again? Grayling, Michigan. He worked at a Glenn's Market at a grocery store, but he was deemed very intelligent. So if he's very intelligent and he's living in Michigan, he's very close to Canada. He could have very well read these comics.
So you said his first name was Robert, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you hear Robert Rackstraw? Did anybody read him? Okay. All right. So it's okay. Different Robert.
But so this guy left work early one day, stole $2,000 out of the safe. This was in 1969. Apparently, they couldn't figure out where the fuck he went. They found his car, keys in the ignition, doors unlocked, no signs of him. But someone that worked at an airport swore they saw him get on a plane to Mexico.
That's interesting. I did not read that one.
Yeah.
I did not read that one.
Holy shit.
Did you know that, Michaela?
No, I did not see that one.
He's never been seen. No trace of him being kidnapped. He stole $2,000, which back then can get you a long way in Mexico.
For sure.
2 years later,
Hell, today
he needs
even.
money. He's read this comic. He's a smart guy. He figures out a way to make it happen.
That's interesting because you said Robert. So I automatically, I started okay. So there's another guy that I really liked, Michaela.
Yep. Yeah,
you heard
Robert
him. You can talk about him. Do you want to? Go ahead.
No, you do. I already had mine. It's your turn.
Well, listen. So when it came to Kenneth and Robert Rackstraw, that's why I thought you said Robert and it confused me for a second. But I think he's also one of the most notable because he was a paratrooper with a criminal record. So you put the 2 and 2 together, damn, look, I mean, he's hijacking a fucking plane. So his background made him a prime suspect, especially since he had the skills needed to execute such, I would say, a very daring heist. Let's be honest. This is something that could have failed so quickly. Michaela, you said they thought about storming that airplane, but they didn't, right? They second guessed themselves. But Rackstraw was investigated, and they investigated to the nines, but he was denied any involvement, and he always kind of was adamant for his innocence. But then he passed away in 2019, leaving a lot of questions unanswered. And that's kind of where we're at. There's so many things unanswered here.
You want me to throw you for a loop?
I don't know. You just did with the other Robert guy.
So
I'm for it though.
Let's loop it.
So his family, after the drawings came out of D.B. Cooper, is the ones that had contacted authorities to say, hey, this looks like our guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look, he vanished once without a trace. He knew how to do it. And if he went to Mexico, he already had a place.
Yeah. And, so we just had him on, and he was hitting on all the other things. I think this guy is what 200,000 a unique number.
Yeah.
Was there a reason for it to be just 200,000? Was there a reason it wasn't 500? Was there a reason, like, if I'm hijacking a plane, you're giving me more than 200,000? Like it's. Go ahead.
Hold on, I gotta find it in my notes. Control.
So while she's finding that, the family also confirmed that he wore a very similar tie to work that day.
But how many people wore that tie that day?
Is it a coincidence? You look alike, same stature. You already vanished once. You went to Mexico. The flight was going to Mexico.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just being devil's advocate. Let me have it.
I get it.
Let me have it.
So you can have whatever you want, Sturge. Treat yourself.
At least she gets it. All right, Dylan.
I just like being the favorite. I know he's your best friend, but I'm your favorite friend.
I'll just keep adding on about this Lepsy guy. So one of his children actually went to the FBI with a DNA sample. If you take a DNA sample, and they have DNA samples of D.B. Cooper, don't you think they'd be like, oh, it tested negative, it's not him?
Well,
They never released
mm-hmm.
DNA testing from that.
Michaela sounds like she has something to say back.
Well, that's one of the crucial things about those cigarettes going missing, because like there were a million fucking fingerprints, like even on the tie, they couldn't tie anything to like who they thought it would be. And that's like, as DNA technology has evolved, like it is with 8 cigarettes, there's no way that they couldn't find something to tie to him, as more people have like, as they pass, or like all of these things, it could have been solved.
Yeah.
But this crucial piece of DNA evidence just fucking
Yeah.
disappeared.
Yeah. So you don't think? I mean, let's be honest. People make
Wait.
mistakes. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one more. Oh no, we can talk about that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so I was just following up.
Yeah.
I know we're looking at those missing cigarette butts,
Yeah.
but people make mistakes. So it's either
Right.
someone made a mistake, it got misplaced, and it
Mhm.
just disappeared. Somebody threw it away.
Yeah.
They didn't. I mean, let's be honest. It's 1970. There wasn't a lot of DNA evidence back then. So
Yeah.
was it a big deal then as it is today?
For sure. And
I
like the
mean-
human element of like, it's not like I've never been hungover as fuck at work and made a fucking mistake.
Right. That's,
Like,
and that's what
yeah.
I mean. But then again, how many cases have been solved since then because of DNA evidence today?
Yeah.
So I mean,
Che
we're seeing
Gordon,
it every day.
mm-hmm. Che said time frame standards, it was a lot of money. It was $1.6 million in like
And
now
I
money.
get it. But like, if I'm that's so true. Can we highlight that?
Yeah.
I think that really put the time frame one on there, Levi. Yeah. I think this really kind of debunks what I said, but at the same time, in my eyes, I'm like, I'm not a criminal, right? So I'm like, if I'm not doing 200, I'm not doing 500. I'm like, get me in the millions if I'm hijacking a fucking plane. I can make this work. But at the same time, you don't want to be super crazy about it because, like,
And
you
he
want it to
won't
be
do it.
possible to happen, right?
So, Sturge, look,
So
that was Robert Lepsey. This was a sketch of D.B. Cooper.
I mean, it's very similar. Very similar.
So I thought it was crazy that you said 500,000, because one of the other suspects is Richard McCoy. He was an Army veteran, served 2 tours of duty in Vietnam, where the Boeing 727s were used. He also was a demolition expert. So not only would he have had the gall to bring an actual bomb on with dynamite, he also would know how, like, what to get to make it look like it was a bomb.
Yeah.
He served with the Green Berets as a helicopter pilot, and after his military service, he became a warrant officer in the National Guard, and he was an avid recreational skydiver.
Yeah.
And he wanted to be a Utah State Trooper. So on April 7th, 1972, he staged one of the best known hijackings that could be a copycat or could have been him. He boarded United Airlines Flight 855, a Boeing 727 with the aft stairs, in Denver, Colorado, and brandishing what later proved to be a paperweight that resembled a hand grenade and an unloaded pistol, he hijacked the plane. He demanded 4 parachutes, just like D.B. Cooper, and $500,000. They delivered the money and the parachutes at San Francisco International Airport. So again, coming back to the West Coast, which seemed to be his kind of comfort zone, he then ordered the aircraft back into the sky and he bailed out over Utah, kind of around Provo. The difference is he left behind his handwritten hijacking instructions. So that is one of the deviations from D.B. Cooper, and he also left his fingerprints on a magazine that he had been reading. He made it 2 full days after his descent. He managed to jump out, land safely, and he evaded authorities for 2 days, but he was picked up on April 9th with the ransom cash in his possession. He was tried and convicted and sentenced to 45 years. 2 years later, he escaped from the penitentiary with several accomplices by crashing a garbage truck through the main gate.
So but the two, okay, they're similar, but DB sounds more methodical.
But
I do
I
agree,
want to
but
rent
here's the
that.
thing. Here's the thing with narcissists. The first time they get away with something, that boosts their overconfidence. So if he had gotten away with the $200,000, then he was like, "Fuck it, $500,000." And you know what? You can keep the note. You can keep the fucking magazine. Like that's the kind
That
of
is neat.
spiral that leads them to
You
get
see
caught.
that in like serial killers, like Israel Keys.
Absolutely.
We
Yeah.
talked about Israel Keys one time, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like he could have went his whole life if he would have stuck to the book that he created, right?
Yeah.
But he got so comfortable and like
Mhm.
I'm so much smarter than you that he fucked up and made a bad decision. Just
Yeah.
like I'm trying to think, BTK killer, same thing. He could have he was so enraged after
Mm-hmm.
they forgot about him that he wrote the letters, right? And you see,
Yeah.
I think it's a good point, Michaela. I think the fact that they at some point they think they're better than you, and so they get a little shittier. They get a little
Mhm.
less worried.
But did he
Yeah.
use the mythology of DB Cooper to persuade people like, hey, I got all this money. If you help me get out, I
Right.
got it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like he made it out with the 200,000. That was never traced to him. Obviously, they recovered the 500,000 when he got caught. But after he escaped from the penitentiary, he was out in the wild for 3 months. It took them 3 months to find him. They found him in Virginia Beach, and then he was killed in a shootout with the FBI. And there was a book released in 1991. It's called D.B. Cooper, The Real McCoy. His parole officer, Bernie Rhodes, and the FBI agent, Russell Kalami, they believed with their whole hearts and full chest that McCoy was D.B. Cooper.
Okay.
Obviously, they cited the similarities, claims by McCoy's family that the tie and mother of Pearl clip on the airplane belonged to him, and he also refused to admit or deny that he was Cooper.
You
He
know,
was saying, like, oh, well, I get, like, I wouldn't absolve me of this crime, or like, that would set, like, it does sound like something I would do. Like, he would never say yes or no in the short time that he was actually still in prison. And the FBI agent who ended up killing McCoy said in the book, when I shot Richard McCoy, I shot DB Cooper at the same time.
that's interesting because you look at it and you think about these guys, the FBI agents.
Yeah.
They're like, listen, we're just armchair detectives.
Oh,
These guys
totally.
have training.
I
So,
haven't even gotten to the on the other hand stuff that says that it wasn't him. Like,
but you go with what they're saying, and they're going to take it to the grave, right?
Yeah.
And they have so much more training, and
Mhm.
and that's what I'm sipping my Yingling Flight and sipping on my Heaven Hill bourbon, and that's what I can't help. Like, how do I put it? So I can't help but kind of reflect on all these theories, all these speculations that have come up over these. How many years has it been? How many years is that?
1971. Don't make me do math.
54.
So 54 years have come and gone, and DB Cooper's case, it's not really just the mystery at this point.
Mhm.
It's an enigma, right? It's sparked countless conversations, countless theories, what we're doing tonight. And I found something kind of interesting since Michaela brought it up. We had the conversation about it, Dylan. I found in 2007 this documentary that even suggested that, in which we talked about, that Cooper was military, like a former military operative, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think when you look at that, I
Mhm.
think that kind of adds another layer that intrigues this case even more.
Mhm.
Because you you look at, actually, she kind of sold me. I know you didn't say anything about why he's not him,
Right.
but combination of like the skill, the luck, the well planned, the escape routes, because you said he escaped prison, right?
Mhm.
He
And
escaped
was gone for 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
But he also escaped 1.5 miles up in the air out of an airplane
Yeah.
with 4 shoots. That one was a dud.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to figure all these things out, but to escape prison, I think we can say that takes. I don't give a fuck if it was a trash truck that went through it. They planned it enough to where
Mm-hmm.
I think it takes a lot of skill, and that's just what makes this fucking case a legendary case.
So
Yeah.
before Michaela hits on all her facts, I'm going to hit on the main two on why I don't believe it was him.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, $200,000 back then is equivalent to 1.2 million. The second hijacking was what, 3 years later?
It was the next year. So
next
this
year.
happened. Yeah. So the first
Tell
one
me.
was November in 1971. This was in April of 1972.
So you're telling me you have equivalent to $1.2 million today. A
Mhm.
year later, you're going for
You're like,
$500,000.
yeah.
And
If I
then
can do 200, why not 5? Like Michaela
because
said.
you're living like a fucking boss right now.
Yeah,
But
Unless
to,
it's not boss enough for you.
but to go
it's true.
farther than that,
Mhm.
I don't see somebody that has $200,000 back then
Mhm.
that went for $500,000 to get killed in a little bank robbery.
Well, it wasn't a bank robbery. They had tracked down, so they had eventually finally found him. So then they staged like SWAT team. They were gonna try and bring him in. So he wasn't caught due to a further crime. They had
Well,
just managed to track him down after he escaped from prison,
so
and then he
Michaela,
got.
the way they tracked him down is 2
Mhm.
people that escaped with him. They were all still together, and 2 of
Mhm.
them got caught in a bank robbery.
Oh,
That's
okay.
how they tracked him down.
I missed that one.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why we're
Yeah.
a
If
team.
you have
I
$1.2
love
million, 3 people can live
Mhm.
comfortable for a while. You're not
Mhm.
getting caught in a small bank
I
robbery.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. And I think that again, there's actually a lot of evidence as to like why it's not him. I just like playing the devil's advocate. I just like arguing, really.
All right, so
uh,
give me your points.
yes.
Well, okay.
So, oh, go ahead.
No, it's all right.
Okay. I mean, you could go.
No, all I'm saying is I don't want to go forever long on
Oh,
this.
yes.
Okay. We got
Okay.
pictures in the morning, guy.
I know. All right.
I
So
do
let
want
me
to hit
just
on
say
what
why
you have
it's
to
not
say.
him.
But I
Yeah.
also on this episode, I feel like there could be a lot of comments here
Mm-hmm.
about what people think. So I definitely want to hear why it's not him, but I also want to get the people that are listening to kind of give
Mm-hmm.
their thoughts and what they think, because there's so many ideas here.
Yeah. Like we're only 3 people with ideas, but like I love one of the things is I always watch every episode back because I don't always get to see the comments when they come in because I'm focused on fucking yakking my ya. But like I love people chiming in and it makes this a discussion. It's like we're all just hanging out at a fire pit or like we're at a barbecue and we're just like, yeah, but like what if this and what if this? And we aren't able to highlight on all of them. But I think it just enriches the discussion and it
Yeah.
makes like it makes my job and this like so much better.
Oh, for sure. So why
So not
is that him?
traceable in terms of like technology,
Because you
but with
turned me
the
into thinking that
200.
it's him.
Oh, so I highlighted on what Chase said. So they marked because they got it all from one bank. Banks actually have reserves of money in the event of someone demanding a ransom or like in this. So the 20s that they had, all of the serial numbers were noted, and that's how they knew that those bundles that they found were from part of that heist, is because the serial numbers were made available to all governing agencies and also the general public. So if anyone found anything with the serial numbers, then it could be traced back. So not like a tracker, but like all of the bills that were given to them are kept separate from the bank's normal money, and it's only that cash is only touched in the event of like a crime happening.
Mhm.
So this is why it's not him. There are definitely similarities, but the FBI didn't consider him a suspect in the case because of the mismatches in age and description. McCoy was only 29 years old at the time, and he had kind of projecty, like sticky outy ears, whereas DB Cooper, like the sticky outy ears, was not part of it, and he was thought to be in his mid 40s.
Right.
Obviously, people can look any age, at any age,
Yeah, look at
and
me. I'm
especially
34 and I look 50. So
and I look 12. Uh, I still sometimes get carded at the liquor store, and I was like,
that's a
"Motherfucker,
good
I'm
problem
older
to
than
have,
you."
though.
No,
That's,
I know. I'm not really complaining. I always
also,
just
they're
pull it
like,
out,
I'm
and
like,
I was
you need
like, "Do you
my
want
ID?
to see
And
it?
they're
Do
like,
you want my ID?"
yeah. I'm like, you want
Uh,
my ID? They're like, no.
in addition, all three of the stewardesses who were still on the plane were shown pictures of McCoy, and unanimously they agreed that did not look like the suspect. And they were even able to point to specific differences between them. One, the ears, and Cooper's nose wasn't as broad as McCoy's was. Cooper also had less hair, which him being 29 and Cooper being in his mid 40s, I feel like that is a fairly distinct difference.
Yeah.
The other one, McCoy's photo is also shown to the ticket agent who sold Cooper the ticket, the gate agent, and the passenger seated closest to him, and they also concluded that they were not the same person.
Mm.
Though in 2024, McCoy's two children publicly stated that their father had been DB Cooper after a parachute was found by a YouTuber on the property that was formerly owned by his mom. And the YouTuber claims to have handed this parachute over to the FBI, though obviously the FBI have not confirmed it. And wow, YouTubers would lie to be more popular? That's crazy.
Well, it's actually interesting because as we end this episode, I think that's perfect because what people may not know, even though it's not solved, despite the FBI, trying to solve it, they actually closed this case. They closed the case in 2016. Which is interesting because like, oh my God, a glorified YouTuber. What do I do to make this so serious?
Yeah, maybe I should just post a video about a case that no one's investigating anymore, and then I can't be wrong.
This case, yeah, you can't prove me wrong because it's closed. So, but I think the fascination with DB Cooper, it's going to always continue.
Yeah.
I think I said if somebody did it, I told you who I think did it.
Yeah.
But I think the wilderness, where he parachuted is vast. And if he had a plan, it's super possible that he could have escaped undetected. But I think it's just as possible that he was a narcissist, thought he could get away with it, broke his fucking legs when he landed in the state of Oregon, and couldn't walk out, and no one's ever fucking found him.
Yeah. Like
I
he
think
could
that's
just be there.
the highest possibility. I think he could literally, his remains could still be hanging in a tree. As we talk about it, the money could still be on him or on the ground.
I think real quick, one of my favorite, because I love how much like pop culture has kind of taken the story and run with it. Like the movie Without a Paddle, fucking hilarious. Like it's so funny and so dumb.
I love when the weed field gets
yeah.
But
I think like one of my other favorites is on the Loki TV show. Tom Hiddleston, who plays Loki, brother of Thor. They depict him as DB Cooper, and he like does this, and they're like, "Wait, that was you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I lost a bet."
Yeah, that's one of our favorite shows. You see all kinds of shows. Look at Prison Break.
Yep.
One of the main characters in it is supposedly DB Cooper.
Right. And the one that I talked about fucking broke out of jail.
Yeah, exactly.
Von Davis. I was 5 in 1971. I confess that jump was so cold.
I think, like, at the end of the day, this case.
Well, where's my money for talking about your story?
Right. I think that at the end of the day, this case is something that'll never be solved, and the only way that it gets solved is someone's hiking and they find it.
So when you guys come visit, we're going hiking, right?
I'm
we're going
into it.
backpacking.
I'm so fucking into that. Dylan and I have literally talked about, because I've lost almost 150 pounds now. And one of my biggest things that I wanted to do is backpack. Like all of my life, I've always wanted to backpack. I want to do Appalachian Trail, and Dylan's like, I'll fucking do it. Let's go.
I said I'd be part of it.
Well, whatever. But you can take it steps. So
like, I'll just drive really slow next to you.
Yeah.
So take a little Lime scooter.
I think it's entirely possible that it's solved by someone just coming across it. But let's just say this man got away with it.
Yeah.
And no one knew who he was. I'm sorry. He's never being found. He's probably dead at this point. And
he spent that money.
It's gone. Like, or whatever. It's like if he did not die on the jump and's not found, he's never being found.
No. Well, and I think Dylan, you touched on that. Like, you were like, it seems unlikely that this guy made off with all of this money and was like, "Fuck it, let's run it back." Like, you can live so comfortably on that amount of money, like
the rest of his life.
Yeah, like smash and grab, just get it, and then live within your means, but just do it in perpetuity.
I mean, let's be real. He was very specific with $200,000.
That's what I'm saying.
And he was so precise with his whole plan. He had a plan to live off that for the rest of his fucking life.
Until he died in the wilderness.
Yeah,
I don't think he did.
So I'm going to end it on
he's got a cabin.
I'm going to end it on this, and I think this is a good way to do it. What do you guys think happened to DB Cooper? Is he still out there living under a new identity, or did he meet his fate in the wilderness that beautiful night, the beautiful rainy Wednesday, November 24th, 1971? So don't forget, it was also raining, dark, and in November.
That's what the flares were for.
So the flares ain't keeping you fucking warm forever, and they're also not protecting you from trees. So what do you guys think? I would love to see. We don't get a lot of comments after the fact of our lives, but I would love to see what you guys think. If you have an idea, put it in the comments. But we're ending it tonight because we know we could go for another 2 hours, which is what we do.
Yeah.
But you know something, I'm trying to go to sleep.
Be responsible.
We got baseball pictures in the morning, so we have to.
Oh, I love that. That's cute.
Whatever. So as always, guys, I'm Big Sturge.
I'm Justice League.
I'm Michaela.
And I'm the producer.
And we are American
Whiskey.
See you guys.
See you guys.